In this video we're going to talk about factoring trinomials, and this is factoring trinomials part 1, and this is our intro to factoring these trinomials. Now you may recall that the last time we saw trinomials was when we were doing our products of polynomials and when we were foiling. So what we're basically going to do here is we're going to go backwards from FOIL. We want to get the two binomials that give us the trinomial answer that we start out with. So let's start with the first one. It says here, factor each trinomial completely. If the trinomial cannot be factored, write prime. So we have x squared plus 2x plus 6. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put our two parentheses for our two binomials. Now, here and here, you're going to put two monomials that multiply to x squared. And so if you said x and x, you were right. Then here and here, we're going to put two numbers that multiply to 6. Now, 6, as you know, can be factored in two ways. We can factor it as 2 times 3, or we can factor it as 6 times 1. How do we know which one to use? Where? Well, when we've got a trinomial where the leading coefficient, and by that I mean the coefficient of the x squared term, is a 1, then we're going to use the two factors that give us the 6 but add up to the 5. And that works when this is a 1. And when this is not a 1, we'll do another video on that, okay? But for now, so as you know, two numbers that multiply to 6 and add up to positive 5 are positive 2 and positive 3. So that's what we're going to put here. Plus 3 and plus 2. Now, let's check that. Let's check our answer. And remember, you check it by foiling. So first, outer, inner, and last. So x times x is x squared. X times a positive 3 is plus 3x. Plus positive 2 times x is plus 2x. And positive 2 times positive 3 is positive 6. Our middle terms are right here, and they add up to 5x, positive 5x. So notice that we do have the trinomial we started out with. All right, let's try another one. You're going to get the hang of this. Okay, we've got x squared plus 7x plus 10. Again, we're going to put a parentheses here and here. Two monomials that multiply to x squared, so that's x and x. Leading coefficient here is 1, so our last term is a positive 10. Our middle term is a positive 7. So we need two numbers that multiply to a positive 10 and add up to a positive 7. And if you said positive 2 and positive 5, then you're correct. So let's check that. Check it with your foiling. X times x is x squared. X times 5 is plus 5x. 2 times x is plus 2x. And 2 times 5 is plus 10. And adding our like terms, we get x squared plus 7x plus 10. Okay, next. Next is x squared plus 9x plus 18. Put our parentheses. Here we put x and x. Those multiply to that. Then we need two numbers that multiply to a positive 18 and add up to a positive 9. So 18 can be factored 18 times 1. Well, that doesn't add up to 9. Can be factored as 2 times 9. But that doesn't add up to 9. Can be factored as 3 times 6, and there's our 9. So this will be x plus 3 and x plus 6. Middle term, let's check that. Inners and outers give us our middle term. So there's our 3x plus 6x, which is 9x. Next we have z squared minus 7z plus 10. So here's our two binomials. And we need a z squared, so that's going to be z times z. Now this time we need two numbers that multiply to a positive 10 but add up to a negative 7. So to multiply to a positive but add up to a negative, that means that both our signs here are going to be negative. And 10 is 2 times 5, and 2 plus 5 equals 7, so that's our factored form. Here we have b squared minus 10b plus 21. So again, we're going to have a b and a b. And now we want to multiply to a positive 21 and add up to a negative 10. So our middle signs are negatives because those multiply to positive but add up to a negative. And 21, to get a 10, that's 7 and 3. So negative 7b minus 3b is our negative 10b. Negative 7 times negative 3 is positive 21. So that's our binomial. Those are our binomials. The next one we have x squared minus 9x plus 8. So there's our two parentheses. X and x to get an x squared. We are multiplying to a positive, adding to a negative, which means two negatives. And two numbers that multiply to 8 but add up to 9, well, that would be 8 and 1. So here we have a negative 8x and a negative 1x, which gives us our negative 9x. Okay, here we have t squared minus 3t minus 40. So two parentheses. And we have a t and a t here. Now notice this time that our last term is a negative, and so that means you're going to have a positive times a negative. So this time we do things a little bit differently. This time we want two numbers that multiply to a negative 40. They add up to a negative 3. And so this time it's going to be, because you have opposite signs, you're going to be subtracting to get that 3. So we know 40 is 40 times 1. That's not going to get us a 3. 20 times 2. That's not going to get us a 3. 10 times 4. We're still not going to get a 3 out of that. 8 times 5. Look at that. So if I use a negative 8 times a positive 5, I will get a negative 40, and these two will add up to my negative 3. So I'm going to put the 8 here and the 5 there. So notice I have 5t with my inners and negative 8t for my outers, and 5t minus 8t, there's my negative 3. Okay, one more. We have x squared plus 2x minus 24. There's our parentheses. We have x and x here. Now again, we're multiplying. This is a negative. We have to multiply to a negative, so that means you're going to have one of each, a positive and a negative here. And we're going to need two numbers that multiply to 24, but are going to add up to positive 2. And so 24, let's see, we have 2 times 12. Well, that's not going to give us a 2. And we have 3 times 8. That's not going to give us a 2. And we have 4 times 6. What about that? So if we use a negative 4 and a positive 6, those are going to multiply to negative 24, but they're going to add up to a positive 2. So that's what we're going to use. So positive 6x here and a negative 4x here will give us our middle term of positive 2x.